Welcome back to Notorious Figures in History. Some of you know me, and in case you didn't, I'm Mikey Babano, your host. In this dark audio tale, we explore the wonderful and fascinating crime of hacking and Kevin Mitnick, the most wanted hacker in history. Now, before we get started on this journey to the past, we ask that you consider subscribing as a token of friendship before we begin our journey. Now, let's begin our story.
Thank you, Mikey Babuno, for your timeless and heartfelt introduction as always. Now, let's begin this true crime story. History is a tapestry woven with threads of triumph and tragedy. It's a chronicle of remarkable individuals who leave their mark on the world. Some become icons, others descend into notoriety. This is the story of Kevin Mitnick, the most hunted hacker of his time. Kevin Mitnick. The name itself became synonymous with digital intrusion, a whisper in the burgeoning online communities of the early internet. He was a phantom, a whisper in the digital wind, moving through the virtual landscape with an almost supernatural ease. His playground was the network, his tools, the codes and protocols that underpinned the rapidly evolving world of computing. Mitnick was not a button-down techie confined to a basement lair. He possessed a certain charisma, a disarming demeanor that belied his audacious exploits. He was a master of social engineering, able to manipulate individuals into divulging sensitive information, bypassing complex security measures with a simple phone call and a persuasive tone. He understood the human element of security, the weakest link in even the most sophisticated system. His targets were not unsuspecting individuals, but behemoths of the tech world. Security giants, multinational corporations, the very institutions that held the keys to the digital kingdom. He infiltrated systems thought to be impenetrable, exposing vulnerabilities that sent shockwaves through the industry and beyond. With each successful intrusion, his notoriety grew, turning him into a legend in the making, a digital outlaw challenging the very fabric of the interconnected world. Mitnick's rise coincided with a time of immense technological change. The dawn of the internet was upon us, and with it a new frontier emerged. It was a realm of boundless potential, where information flowed freely and the lines between the physical and digital worlds blurred. But like any frontier, it was also a lawless place, rife with opportunity and fraught with danger. The rules were still being written, and into this void stepped a new breed of outlaw, the hacker. Driven by curiosity, a thirst for knowledge and a desire to test the limits of what was possible, these digital explorers ventured into the uncharted territories of cyberspace. Some were motivated by mischief, others by a desire to expose vulnerabilities and make the digital world a safer place. But for some, like Mitnick, the allure of the challenge, the thrill of the chase, and the intoxicating power of breaching the seemingly impenetrable proved irresistible. His exploits captivated the public imagination, turning him into a folk hero to some and a dangerous criminal to others. He became a symbol of a new era, one where the battle lines were drawn not on land or sea, but in the ethereal realm of cyberspace. His story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that in an increasingly interconnected world, the line between right and wrong, between innovation and transgression, can be razor thin. Kevin Mitnick's journey from curious teenager to the FBI's most wanted hacker began in the seemingly ordinary setting of his childhood. Born in 1963 in Los Angeles, Mitnick displayed an early aptitude for technology and a knack for bending the rules. The seeds of his future exploits were sown in the classrooms and suburban streets of his youth. Mitnick's parents divorced when he was young, and he found solace in electronics. He was particularly drawn to the world of radio, spending hours tinkering with transmitters and receivers. This early fascination with communication technology foreshadowed his later mastery of the digital realm. School proved to be less stimulating, than the world of circuits and frequencies. Mitnick found the traditional classroom stifling, the curriculum failing to engage his restless mind. He was a bright child, but his intelligence manifested in unconventional ways. It was within this environment that Mitnick's rebellious streak began to emerge. He discovered a thrill in outsmarting the system, circumventing rules he found arbitrary. This rebellious spirit, coupled with his technical skills, found an outlet in computer hacking. What began as harmless pranks evolved into serious exploits, setting him on a collision course with the law. Mitnick was captivated by the phone freaks, pioneers who explored the telephone system with a thirst for knowledge. They manipulated the system, uncovering its hidden workings. Mitnick immersed himself in freaking, learning tones and frequencies. The blue box, a device to mimic operator tones, fascinated him. It allowed free calls and symbolized the freaking subculture. For Mitnick, it was a gateway to endless possibilities. As computing evolved, so did Mitnick's ambitions. He transitioned from phone freaking to computer hacking, drawn by greater challenges and the power of breaching digital fortresses. His early targets were smaller systems, fertile ground for his skills. He gained unauthorized access to Digital Equipment Corporation's network. Using technical prowess and social engineering, Mitnick penetrated DC's defenses. This success fueled his confidence for more daring intrusions. He targeted university systems, honing his skills in password cracking and network navigation. Mitnick left little evidence of his digital trespass. Word of his exploits spread, solidifying his reputation. He exploited technical and human vulnerabilities using social engineering. His early successes had consequences. Authorities began to take an interest in Mitnick. Mitnick's early hacking, driven by curiosity, had consequences. His actions attracted law enforcement's attention. At 17, Mitnick was caught breaking into a Pacific Bell telephone center. He was arrested and charged with theft of trade secrets. The court sentenced him to probation. This encounter fueled his defiance and desire to test limits. Mitnick continued honing his skills, setting the stage for future pursuits. The early 1980s marked a pivotal period in computing. Personal computers were becoming commonplace, and the internet was connecting universities and tech companies. For Kevin Mitnick, this digital landscape was a playground for exploration and exploitation. His early encounters with the law fueled his desire to push boundaries. Mitnick honed his skills, driven by curiosity and a sense of invincibility. His targets were universities and tech companies rich with information. Mitnick saw these as puzzles to solve, showcasing his technical prowess. He exploited both technical vulnerabilities and human weaknesses. A master of social engineering, he manipulated individuals with ease. Mitnick's tools included phone calls, fabricated stories, and crafted personas. As Mitnick's skills and notoriety grew, so too did the audacity of his targets. In 1989, he set his sights on Santa Cruz Operation, a software company based in California that specialized in Unix operating systems. SCO was a major player in the tech industry at the time, and its systems housed valuable intellectual property, including source code for its Unix operating system, a highly sought-after commodity in the world of software development. Mitnick's intrusion into SCO's systems was a meticulously planned and executed operation, a testament to his growing technical sophistication. He exploited a vulnerability in SCO's network security, gaining unauthorized access to their servers and making off with a treasure trove of sensitive data, including source code, internal documents, and customer information. The breach sent shockwaves through the tech industry. SCO was a respected and well-protected company, and the fact that Mitnick had been able to penetrate their defenses so effortlessly raised serious concerns about the vulnerability of computer systems and the growing threat posed by hackers. For Mitnick, the SCO hack was a major coup, solidifying his reputation as one of the most skilled and audacious hackers in the world. It also marked a turning point in his relationship with law enforcement. The FBI, now taking a keen interest in Mitnick's activities, launched a full-scale investigation, determined to bring the elusive hacker to justice. The Santa Cruz operations hack transformed Kevin Mitnick from a prankster into one of the FBI's most wanted cybercriminals. The scale and audacity of the intrusion elevated Mitnick's activities to a serious federal crime. The hunt for the elusive hacker intensified. Mitnick was a master of evasion. He used aliases and erased his digital footprints. Mitnick's life took on a clandestine air. He moved from city to city, always one step ahead. The media dubbed him the Condor. The chase was on, and Mitnick was determined to stay free. Central to Mitnick's ability to evade capture for so long was his mastery of the digital realm. He understood the intricacies of computer networks, the vulnerabilities that could be exploited, and the techniques for covering one's tracks in the ethereal world of cyberspace. He was a phantom in the machine, able to move through networks undetected, leaving behind little more than a whisper of his presence. One of Mitnick's key strategies was the use of what became known as Mitnick's triangle. This technique involved compromising three interconnected systems: a target system, a system with valuable information, and a system used for launching attacks. By bouncing his connections through these multiple systems, Mitnick could obscure his true location, making it extremely difficult for investigators to trace his movements. He was also adept at exploiting vulnerabilities in telephone systems, using his knowledge of phone phreaking to reroute calls, mask his caller ID, and even eavesdrop on conversations. Mitnick's ability to disappear into the digital ether, to become a ghost in the machine, frustrated law enforcement and fueled his legend. He became a symbol of a new breed of criminal, one who operated not in the shadows of the physical world, but in the ethereal realm of cyberspace. Traditional law enforcement tactics were often ineffective against him. Kevin Mitnick's genius lay in understanding the human element of security. He recognized the weakest link was often the human behind the keyboard. Mitnick was a master of social engineering, manipulating individuals to divulge sensitive information. His exploits were legendary, showcasing his understanding of human psychology. Security isn't just about firewalls, it's about mitigating human risk. As Kevin Mitnick's exploits grew bolder, public opinion became divided. Some saw him as a menace, others as a folk hero. Mitnick claimed he never exploited systems for personal gain. He portrayed himself as a digital David battling Goliaths. His victims argued he was a common criminal. The debate over Mitnick's true nature raged on. Was he a dangerous criminal or a misunderstood genius? The stakes rise, national security at risk. Kevin Mitnick's hacking caught the attention of the FBI and NSA in the mid-90s. His ability to access confidential information raised national security concerns. Mitnick primarily targeted corporations, but fears of espionage grew. The NSA joined the hunt, deploying sophisticated surveillance tools. Mitnick's activities escalated to a matter of national security. The game-changer Tsutomu Shimomura enters the fray. The pursuit of Kevin Mitnick took another unexpected turn with the arrival of a new player on the scene, Tsutomu Shimomura, a renowned computer security expert and physicist. Shimomura, a brilliant but unassuming figure, worked at the San Diego Supercomputer Center, one of the institutions targeted by Mitnick in his relentless pursuit of digital trophies. Unlike the FBI agents tasked with apprehending Mitnick, Shimomura understood the hacker's mindset. He spoke Mitnick's language, thought like Mitnick thought, and was intimately familiar with the tools and techniques of the digital underworld. This deep understanding of the hacker's craft would prove invaluable in the hunt for Mitnick. Shimomura, outraged by Mitnick's intrusion into his employer's systems and the theft of his personal files, made it his personal mission to bring the hacker to justice. He teamed up with the FBI, lending his technical expertise and his unique insight into the mind of his quarry. Shimomura's involvement in the case was a game changer. He was able to anticipate Mitnick's moves, decipher his cryptic messages, and track his movements through the digital labyrinth. He became Mitnick's digital nemesis, a worthy adversary in the high-stakes game of cat and mouse that was playing out across the vast expanse of cyberspace. The digital dragnet closing in on the Condor. With Tsutomu Shimomura now working alongside the FBI, the net began to tighten around Kevin Mitnick. Shimomura's expertise allowed the authorities to analyze Mitnick's past intrusions in unprecedented detail, identifying patterns in his behavior, his preferred techniques, and the telltale signs of his digital presence. They discovered that Mitnick, despite his efforts to cover his tracks, was not as invisible as he believed. He left behind subtle clues, unique patterns in his code, distinctive timestamps on his activities, even traces of his personality in the aliases he used and the taunting messages he sometimes left behind. Shimomura and the FBI, armed with this new understanding of Mitnick's methods, deployed a sophisticated digital dragnet, monitoring his known haunts, tracking his online activity, and lying in wait for his next move. They focused their efforts on monitoring internet service providers, telephone companies, and other critical infrastructure, hoping to intercept Mitnick's communications or detect his presence as he attempted to access the digital world. The pressure on Mitnick mounted with each passing day. The digital landscape, once his playground, was now a hunting ground filled with traps laid by his pursuers. He was forced to become even more cautious, more meticulous in his movements as he sought to stay one step ahead of the digital dragnet that was closing in. Section 5, Payphones and Parking Lots, a cat and mouse chase. The hunt for Kevin Mitnick was a real-life game of cat and mouse played out across America. Mitnick used payphones and parking lots, always looking over his shoulder. Shimomura and the FBI tracked his every move using advanced surveillance technology. The chase spanned state lines from California to Colorado. Mitnick relied on his wits, technology, and a network of associates. The media followed every twist, fueling public fascination with the elusive hacker. Section 1. The Carolina Hideout. A moment of vulnerability. By late 1994, the relentless pressure of life on the run was taking its toll on Kevin Mitnick. Exhaustion and paranoia had set in. He was a ghost in the machine, constantly looking over his shoulder. Seeking refuge, Mitnick hid in a modest apartment complex in Raleigh, North Carolina. He adopted the alias Eric Weiss, a master of disguise in both digital and physical worlds. He kept a low profile, venturing out only when necessary, his movements shrouded in secrecy. However, his past was catching up to him. His insatiable curiosity would ultimately contribute to his downfall. He couldn't resist the allure of the digital world, even as he knew it could be his undoing. He had made a critical mistake. He had let his guard down, allowing a sliver of vulnerability to pierce his carefully constructed facade of anonymity. Section 2. The Signal in the Night, a digital trail unravels. While Mitnick lay hidden, Shimomura and the FBI continued their relentless pursuit. Shimomura, adept at anticipating Mitnick's moves, recognized the digital fingerprints that betrayed his presence. They monitored networks, setting traps with digital bait. Their patience paid off. On Christmas Eve, a faint signal emerged. Wellfleet Communications had been accessed, revealing Mitnick's digital fingerprints. They had a location, a starting point in their pursuit. February 15th, 1995. The walls close in. Armed with the Wellfleet Communications intrusion as their guide, Shimomura and the FBI descended upon Raleigh, North Carolina. They worked tirelessly, following the digital trail, piecing together Mitnick's movements, tracing his connections back to their source. They utilized a combination of sophisticated surveillance technology and old-fashioned detective work, tracking payphone calls, monitoring credit card transactions, interviewing neighbors, and piecing together the fragments of Mitnick's life on the run. Their investigation led them to the doorstep of a nondescript apartment complex, a place that seemed to blend seamlessly into the anonymity of its surroundings. They had their suspicions, but they needed confirmation, irrefutable proof that they had finally cornered their quarry. On February 15, 1995, after days of round-the-clock surveillance, they had their answer. They observed Mitnick, or rather the man known as Eric Weiss, leaving his apartment, his movements betraying a sense of urgency, his eyes darting nervously from side to side. He headed towards a nearby payphone, the preferred communication method for a man who had spent years evading electronic surveillance. As Mitnick placed a call, his voice a hushed whisper, the FBI, listening in on a court-ordered wiretap, heard the confirmation they needed. It was Mitnick's voice, unmistakable despite his attempts to disguise it. The game was up. The arrest of Kevin Mitnick marked the end of an era. The legendary hacker was now in custody, his reign as a digital outlaw over. The raid on Mitnick's apartment was a spectacle, a real-life crime drama. Mitnick seemed resigned, his face showing exhaustion and relief. The digital world, once his playground, was now his prison. Denied access to computers, his movements were restricted. The master of cyberspace was now a prisoner of technology. Mitnick's capture sent shockwaves through the hacker community. It marked a turning point in the public's perception of hacking. The legend of Kevin Mitnick would not end with his arrest. His story would continue to fascinate and inspire debate for years to come. The weight of Kevin Mitnick's notoriety pressed down on the courtroom. Here was no ordinary criminal, but the most wanted hacker. The prosecution painted him as a digital terrorist. Mitnick, they argued, was driven by a lust for power. The defense countered with a nuanced portrait of a misguided young man. They argued he was motivated by curiosity, not malice. The judge faced a complex task: how to quantify the damage in a virtual realm, how to mete out justice for digital crimes. The sentence was severe: 46 months in federal prison. Mitnick, once free in cyberspace, was now confined. The price of notoriety was steep. Life behind bars, the hacker's redemption. Prison life was a stark contrast to the digital freedom Mitnick had once enjoyed. Stripped of his technological tools, his connection to the outside world severed, he was forced to confront the consequences of his actions, the human cost of his digital exploits. The government, fearing that even a flicker of internet access could transform Mitnick back into the digital phantom he once was, imposed strict restrictions. For a time, he was even denied access to a telephone. A cruel irony for the man who had once manipulated the phone system with such ease. Yet, even in the confines of prison, Mitnick's story continued to resonate. Supporters, rallying under the banner of Free Kevin, argued that his sentence was excessive, that he was a scapegoat for the government's own failures to address the growing threat of cybercrime. They portrayed him as a prisoner of conscience, a symbol of the government's overreach in the digital age. Mitnick, meanwhile, used his time in prison to reflect, to come to terms with his past, and to chart a new course for his future. He devoured books on psychology, law, and philosophy, seeking to understand the motivations behind his actions and the impact they had had on others. He began to see his time in prison not as a punishment, but as an opportunity for growth and redemption. From outlaw to expert, a second act in cybersecurity. Upon his release from prison in 2000, Kevin Mitnick faced a transformed world. The internet had exploded into a global phenomenon. Cybersecurity was now a paramount concern. Mitnick, once a cybercriminal, was now in a unique position. He understood the hacker's mindset and vulnerabilities. He had a story to tell, helping others protect themselves. He embraced this second act with fervor. He founded Mitnick Security Consulting. He became a sought-after speaker. He wrote best-selling books on cybersecurity. He transformed from a felon to a respected consultant, author, and speaker. A legacy forged in code. Kevin Mitnick's story is a study in contrasts. A child prodigy who found his calling in computer networks, he rose to notoriety as the world's most wanted hacker, only to emerge as a respected security consultant and advocate for ethical hacking. His journey, marked by brilliance and recklessness, serves as a cautionary tale about the power of technology and the importance of wielding knowledge responsibly. The never-ending game. The world of cybersecurity is a constantly evolving landscape, a never-ending game of cat and mouse between those who seek to protect information and those who seek to exploit it. Kevin Mitnick, once the world's most wanted hacker, ultimately chose to use his knowledge and experience to help build a safer digital world. His story serves as a reminder that the battle for cybersecurity is never truly won. As technology advances, as new vulnerabilities emerge, and as the motivations of cybercriminals evolve, we must remain vigilant, constantly adapting our defenses, and never underestimating the ingenuity and persistence of those who operate in the shadows of the digital world. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of Kevin Mitnick, the most wanted hacker in history. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel for more stories of notorious figures who have shaped our world. And don't forget to check out our Notorious clothing line, where you can find unique apparel inspired by the lives and legacies of history's most intriguing figures. Your support helps us continue to create content that explores the darker side of history and the fascinating individuals who have left their mark on the world. Click the link below to visit our store and show your support.